All right, I had to turn on the recording. So here it is. This is the ebook that we created. We create these for all the processes because it's too hard to update the website. So this one here, this is my intellectual property. It's protected by Stark Holdings Business Trust, trademark and copyrights, common law. This one is on the UCC Contract Trust. So I don't sit here and read this stuff. I mean, you can get the book and you can read it, but basically, it starts off by talking about this is where you mail everything out to. If you buy the ebook or if you have access to the files online, you have all this information. Okay. So there's the names on here aren't important because this thing was done by Pat Devine back in 2019, and these people probably don't even work in the same place. I did look up this Joseph Kehoe. He does still work there, but he works in a different division. So they are still around, but just understand that these names aren't the ones you're going to use. These things here, SF 30, 14, 15, 16, and 18, these are done after you do this. You have to first do the SPC process and get your stuff on the record. And then you have to take all that stuff that's on the record and mail it to the Treasury with the green return receipt. Okay. So once you do that, then you can use the SF 30 and all these other forms. You can't modify a contract until you have a contract. Okay. So this is what this is talking about, is how to create the contract. It just goes through the difference between the non-UCC and the UCC. The UCC basically is designed to plug the holes. The non-UCC is your labor credits. That's where all of the your ability to create money comes from. Okay. So that goes through that. And then this is another form that's talking about the same stuff. It just kind of like it's repetitive over it. It talks about what you're doing, the IRS account, the master file, the non-master file, where you call, what questions you ask. So this is all for you when you get to that point. These are the documents that you want to have together if you're just going to do these. What I do is I send everything that went to Pima County, I send in. Okay. But there's a few extra things on here that I'll go over. Okay. So first thing is the UCC one. Okay. We all know this, we've done this. And so that goes in, the non-UCC, which is what I was telling you about a second ago. This is where all your labor credits are. This was a copy of mine. It's actually 4 pages long. Okay. Letter to the Treasury is this one. This is the one I just updated. It's in the Dropbox, not Dropbox, the Google Drive. Okay. The bill of exchange is the next one. This one is basically what tells them what to do with your account. The bond, this is a bond. I changed it several times. This is the most recent one. And this is why there's that watermark across it. Okay. That'll have your name in there. The reason why that's important is because that's what makes this bond yours. Okay. Your time and your energy is what you use to create money. So you have to make things more original. Okay. So that's why that's in there. So then this is the American ID. This is in the Google Drive. Okay. And then you have your American insurance and you have your deed of trust. So these 3 things are in the Google Drive. These aren't something that we do for you. It's something that you can do as an addition. Okay. And once you do them, once you get them all filled out and ready to go and notarized, then you mail them to yourself. You mail a copy to yourself and you send the original into the Treasury. And so that's that. Okay. This just talks about who we are and what you're all doing here and how to do all this. When you buy the ebook, we send you a document that helps you understand on how to do this whole process. Okay. So you buy the ebook, you get all the forms together from when you did your SPC, and then you take the instruction sheet and you just follow the instructions. It's very simple to mail all the stuff in. So so that's basically that on the ebook. I don't generally like to get too deep in these weekly calls, but I like to have something to talk about in the beginning so that you guys have, some subject matter or some instruction in the beginning, from me. So now, what I usually do is I open this up to comments or questions. So anybody has any questions, go ahead.
Good evening. I have a question.
Sure.
I was looking at the that attachment number one, the label wagering credit sheet, and where it says U.S. Postal Service. Is it okay if I put all of the 9-digit postal codes that I have? Because I
Yes,
had
that's
the
what,
LexisNexis report and it had all,
yeah, you use your 9-digit
well,
zip code, right? So when you get a piece of
okay, I
mail
have 8 of
in
them.
the
Is that okay?
mail at the bottom of it, no, you'll have 9. There won't be 8. Okay, okay, let's just say that it'll have your actual zip code, then it'll have a dash, and then it'll have 4 numbers.
I think you misunderstood what I said. I have 8 separate ones instead of the initial, so I can put all 8 on that sheet.
What do you mean
I
you have
mean, I
8?
had it from when I first started getting
No, you just your
8
current
separate zip
address.
codes.
Just your current address. You don't need all
Okay,
your former
okay,
addresses, just your current one.
okay.
Okay?
And for the Medicare part, that's just your social security number, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep. Oh, you're welcome.
Uh, one last question. Um, everything on this sheet is basically current. I used to have a salvage vehicle that I just got rid of a couple of months ago. Would I put that on there for credits or leave it
Yeah, I
blank
mean, you
because it's
could
not current?
just what's just important is just use your current vehicle and put it on there. They're all salvage, right? They're because of how the title
Okay,
are work with the state, they're considered salvage. That's why the state can pick up the titles because the maritime salvage laws dictate what the state can do because they run under maritime law. And the salvage laws, they're not talking about a salvage title because the vehicle was wrecked. We're talking about salvage because basically the vehicle was left unattended. Because it was left unattended, then the state picked it up as salvage. And that's why they charge you a registration fee. Does that make sense?
okay. Interesting. Yeah,
So,
most
yeah. So all laws are maritime laws and they are all probate because we are all dead. According to the doctrine of parity, a court has to be an artificial person and it can only deal with artificial persons. So, in order for you to deal with a courtroom or be subject to a law, you have to be deceased because it's probate. And because of that, all the laws have to be written a certain way. And that's the only way that they can acquire property from you because you're the sovereign is by you being dead and them extorting your estate. So, what we teach in this is the SBC process establishes that you're not the dead estate, that you are the live person. And then the UCC contract trust establishes that because you're the live person, you are in control of that contract. And the mentorship program teaches, which is what some of the more advanced people are doing right now, is that teaches you how to behave within that live person environment instead of acting in a dead capacity. Does that make sense?
excellent. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody
Hey,
else?
Kent.
Yep,
Yeah,
go
hi,
ahead.
Kent. This is Karen. I
Hi.
have a question. So regarding the UCC one, what are the documents that go with that? Is it it's the financing statement, the POA, is it the security agreement, and also the Schedule A and hold harmless and copyright? Are all
Okay,
those going?
so when you go to Pima County, so when Corinne finishes everything for you, she's gonna
Uh-huh,
send you your documents over, and then she's gonna send you an instruction sheet that tells you what to send where. And you send everything to Pima County to get put on the record. And then once it's on the record, they'll send that back to you. And then when they send the copies back to you, then you take those and you send them to the treasury. You make copies of them and send them to the treasury. And
gotcha.
you
Okay.
use that with the green certified mail with the return receipt.
And she'll explain which separate filing or recordings I do, because at
Yep.
first I record things separately and then I send it in.
Yep. So she'll do
Okay.
a UCC one for you with the attachments, and then she'll send it to you. And then you decide where you're going to have it, where you're going to record it. So before you record the UCC one with Pima County, you have to send it to a state. So what state do you live in, Karen?
California.
Then you send it to Washington, the state of
Gotcha. Okay.
Washington, to get put on the record. And then after that's recorded, you send that recorded document to Pima County with everything else.
Okay, is this the only document that would have to go to Washington first before
Yes,
FEMA?
ma'am.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And then I do have a question about the non-UCC. I know the one you have is the Encola one, but back in May I had done one that Paul Michael had shown us, which was the Thomas Beaumont one, and it was a UCC Social Security for a private for-profit organization, and that
Yeah,
goes,
so we
the secured
combined
party
them.
was the bank. Oh, okay.
We combined them. So I took the Encola one. So mine has the Encola as the first debtor. Then it has your all caps name as the second debtor. And then it
Mm-hmm.
has your body name as the secured party creditor. And then it has your private bank as a secured party creditor. So all of them are on it. And then we changed the collateral statement so that it has the information from both. So you're
Okay,
getting
but
the
the one
best of
I
both worlds.
filed, oh, okay, the one I filed had my bank on it. Is that,
Right, and that's
does the
fine.
other one
I mean,
have
if
it?
you
Oh,
already
okay.
have one, you don't have to do another one if you don't want to.
Oh,
But
I was just curious because I saw there were similarities. I was just curious if this has
yeah,
any value to do both of them or something. Just send them both in my
yeah,
packet.
it's all if you research Gene Keating, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually UCC 8 and UCC 9 that talks
Mm-hmm.
about the non-UCC, and what that's where Pat and Gene Keating got it from. Gene Keating
Gotcha.
taught Pat Devine,
Right.
right?
Because
So
I have listened to a lot of Gene Keating as well.
yeah, it's I would prefer to listen to Gene Keating than Pat Devine.
I know it's hard to find a good recording though. They're so scratchy.
Yeah, I know, because Gene's been, Gene works for the government now.
Oh,
So
you said that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, after he like shared all this information, they were like, "Hey, why don't we hire this guy?" So
Gotcha. All right.
he works for one of the UCC outfits in Washington. Yeah. So he's still alive. Yeah. So we just try
Okay.
we just try and condense all this stuff so that it's a little more palatable and easier to understand.
Oh, okay, I have one last question, sorry.
Yep.
The
Go ahead.
bonds, regarding the bonds, I know that there was an indemnity bond and then I guess the set off bond.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I do one
Which
bond
one, the set
because
off or the indemnity? You don't do which one?
I don't do either one of those. Okay,
Oh, okay.
I do a discharge bond. That's the one that's in my paperwork.
That's, okay, gotcha. Because I
The
saw it
other
was similar
ones,
but different.
the other ones was an older like process, and then like when I started getting into this more advanced stuff, there's only two types of negotiable instruments that exist. Only two. And if you look in the UCC, you will read this. There are only orders and drafts. There's nothing else.
Okay,
Everything is either an order or a draft. It doesn't matter what it says on it. It matters what it does. Okay. A bond is an order to create money. All right. A draft
okay,
is a bill of exchange.
okay.
Okay. So in the paperwork that we do for you, there is an order and there is a draft. Those are the two necessary things that have to be sent in order for you to create money for debt discharge. Okay, so that's
Okay.
why that's set up that way. Now, the IRS won't accept, they won't accept anything but a draft for payment. Okay, that's a bill of exchange. But in order to use a bill of exchange, or a letter of credit is a bill of exchange, okay? So when you get a bill from a credit card company, that's a letter of credit,
Mhm.
right? So they won't accept that. You can't send that back to the financial institution and say accepted for value, because they don't accept letters of credit or what we call promissory notes.
Okay.
They only accept bills of exchange, right? But you can't send a bill, it's a check. A bill of exchange is a check. So you
Uh-huh.
can't send a bill of exchange in without there being money on your master file.
Makes perfect sense. Okay.
Right. So it's just like, that's why they used to, guys used to take bills of exchange into the bank and cash them. And they have to pay it. Face value, that's the law. But they can do their due diligence. And if they do their due diligence and you don't have money in the account with the IRS, that's a bad check. So that means you're in dishonor. And if you're in dishonor, then you're not coming in with clean hands, right? And so the laws of equity, the rules of equity say that in order to do equity, you must come with clean hands, right? So you can't be in dishonor when you show up. So if you are sending bills of exchange and you don't have money to back it up and they're bad checks, you're in dishonor. So
Okay, that makes sense.
that's why I teach what I teach. You do the SBC, you send it to the treasury, you set up your contract trust. Okay, then you call in and you establish that the credits are available. And then you can use the bill of exchange to discharge debt.
Okay, because I was looking at some of the indemnity bonds, and they had the surety on there, and I didn't really understand how to get a surety, and it seemed complex.
Well, the reason why they were doing that is the IRS tried to say that you couldn't have the all caps name and the body name as two people, because a bond has to have three parties,
Mhm.
right? It has to have the principal, it has to have the recipient, and it has to have the surety, right? So what they were doing is they were getting people to sign as sureties, right? And so then you had five people on a bond, which it only requires three. And so that's why they were doing it. But that all changed, right? So you don't have to
Oh,
do all that anymore. You just have to submit an order to create money. And then it has to be moved from the non-master file to the master file so it can be used to discharge debt. And then
okay,
once you
all
do
right.
that, you can use the SF-30 or you can use 1099s or whatever you want.
Okay, are any of the forms for the SPC needing a witness? And if so, who can be a witness?
Two of them. Anybody can be a witness, except for some states don't let family members or whatever. But the two documents that require witnesses are the list of fees. That requires like two witnesses, and then there's another one in the SBC that requires, well, I think it's the certification of trust requires witnesses.
Oh, okay. Is a witness considered a notary, or is that
No,
a third one? Okay, so there's a notary plus two witnesses on the
right. So if
one.
you go to a bank,
Okay,
they're not generally going to have witnesses. So if
okay,
you need witnesses, go to like sometimes the UPS store will have people.
okay, okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anybody
I have
else?
a question for clarification.
Yep.
Once we submit the documents to PEMA, is it still necessary to put an ad in the paper for the copyright?
No, you just use PIMA.
Okay, very
It's on
good.
the record with PIMA for 3 weeks. That's sufficient.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. You're welcome.
So, quick question on the UCC.
Yep.
I was born in New York, currently live in Georgia. Where do I file that in New York, or do I file that
Yes.
here okay,
You file it in New York
in the county I
and
was
you have to
born?
do it through the mail. I already went through this. I was just up in Albany doing this crap. okay? You can't do like addendums and UCC ads online. So if you're just doing a UCC one, then you should be able to do it online with New York.
Okay.
But I just mailed them in.
That works.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. I don't know if you know or not, but is there any rhyme or reason why we're given the letters on the what is that? The routing numbers for Social Security? Because I almost made the mistake. I was born in New York, but I had an E number, and then I realized that it doesn't necessarily go by the state you were born in. Is there a reason for that, or do you know?
No,
This is
it's
random.
let's just say that you left New York and moved to California, and then you got a new Social Security card. Your number on your red number will be from New York or from California. So it doesn't,
Okay.
but if you have your original one from New York, it'll be the New York bank. But every time you get a new Social Security card, that's a new bond. So then they cancel the old bond number and they give you a new bond number.
Well, that's my question. I was born in New York, and the letter next to New York is a B, but my number is an E.
Right, because
So I
there's a
don't know what
Social
that's all
Security
about.
card that got acquired outside of New York in another state. So that's why it has a different number.
Okay, so it doesn't really necessarily go by where you were born,
No,
right?
I have my
Okay.
original card from when I was in Wisconsin and I was born in Wisconsin. So mine is Chicago. Okay, but if now that I live in Georgia, if I went and got a replacement Social Security card while I live in Georgia, it would have a different number on it.
No, that's not the case. I was originally born in New York, never got a new card, but mine say H as opposed to the B.
Okay,
So I don't know what that's all about.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It makes no difference. Just use what letter is on there and then put that on your paperwork.
okay.
Another question?
Last question. What for the getting the authentication with the Department of State? How long has it been taking, to your knowledge, of getting it back or return?
Mine was 2
Pretty
weeks.
quick. Oh, okay, I'm expecting it next week. I'm hoping that's
Yeah.
correct. Okay.
If you guys don't have any more questions, you can ask me to go over something else too. Like whatever you have concerns on, just, go ahead and pipe in.
I'm curious, Pat, said initially that when he started, I guess when he got further on in the process, that he returned his Social Security funds. Is that necessary as well, or no?
You faded out there. Can you ask that again?
Pat said that he had returned his Social Security funds. And I was wondering whether I'm currently receiving Social Security, so I'm wondering if that's something that has to be returned.
No, it's your money.
I'm trying to figure out why.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out why he his funds back.
well, not everything that Pat Devine says and did is relevant right now. Okay. And I'm not like, I don't remember him talking about that, but I believe you when you say that he did. But this is what, when you get Social Security from the government, it's an annuity and it's your money. It's your money from your trust. Okay. So They basically take the interest off money they have invested and they send it to you as an annuity. So that's your money. You don't have to pay that back. You ever find it odd that you don't have to pay income tax on your benefits?
No, I knew that. I was just wondering why he did certain things. It just makes sense.
No, but what I'm
I
saying
consider
is,
it my money.
yeah, what I'm saying is that if it was something you had to pay back, you would have to pay taxes on it. Right? Because you don't have to
Yeah.
pay taxes on it, it proves that it's your money. So, and
Yeah.
that's why it's
I
always,
got
the
it.
check's always written out to you. Because that's how trustee
Yep.
accounts work.
Plus, a lot of what he did was a lot of hit or miss in the beginning too. I listened to the entire thing, did some complete information overload, and I think when he hits folder 39 is when he says the previous stuff should be deleted, because
Yeah.
it's just confusing people. It's like, ah, shit.
Yeah,
That's
and then he's like,
beginning.
at one point, he's like, you don't have to do the UCCs anymore. And I don't agree with that, right?
Yeah, because
UCC system is in place and it's there for a reason. And what is it going to kill you? Let's just say the UCC one does nothing. Who cares? It costs $10 to put it on the record.
yeah, and Christian Walters talks about the whole thing too. He goes over it. His audios, all of them are on archive.org.
Cool.
Downloaded those and been listening to those.
Yeah.
There was one guy that mentioned having an actual claim of lien on bond paper. He was a notary out of Florida, on one of Christian's calls. And he said that should be going with your UCC one. I haven't gotten far enough in the process to really know one way or the other. I'm just mentioning it.
Yeah, I don't mess with that. I use the UCC one to establish the pecking order on
Hmm.
security because that's what it's for. It's a financing statement,
Gotcha.
right? And then in addition to that, I do all the other paperwork. So it's just kind of an addition to the other stuff that you do. Now, when you start discharging debt, you're going to use the UCC ones, right? Because you're the customer lender and the customer borrower, and the bank is the intermediary. So you're going to do a UCC one on the bank, right? They're going to be the debtor. The creditor is going to be the treasury. And then you're going to put additional debtors on there, which is the IRS and the United States government and so on and so forth. And you do this UCC filing in that way. Here, let me show you guys something. You guys have all seen that Donald Trump UCC one he did for his court case, right?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, well, I did one for my court case, so I'm going to show it to you. And then I'm going to show you something else. Okay. Okay, there's a Donald Trump one. I gotta find mine.
Yeah, I actually saw Trump's UCC one, but I didn't completely understand how he used
Yeah, I'm
it.
gonna show it when I show you mine. I'll go over it with you in a second here when I find it. Where did I put it? All right. Here's the Donald Trump one. So this is just basically to show you guys that this is how they do it, right? So you got secured parties, the Department of Treasury, then you got the Supreme Court of New York and the regular court of New York. They're the creditors, they're debtors. Banks are courts, courts are banks. So when you're doing a discharge of debt, you do the same thing, except you put the bank's name in here instead of a court name, right? Same write-up, you just put your own crap in there, right? And then you put all the other names of secured parties, and then you attach the supporting documentation. So that's exactly what Donald Trump did here. And then this is what I did to get my case dismissed, right? This is the in-camera stuff. So this is 22 pages, stamps on each one. You know, birth certificate with the endorsements, you know, the CP 575 and so on. So when you get into like more advanced equity stuff, this is the kind of stuff that you do to get in camera in front of the judge. Now we'll see if this works, because if it works and I get in camera, I'm going to ask for a black card. So, you know, if you guys, if you see me disappear, that's what happened. I got in front of the judge and got what I wanted and had to sign an NDA and shut everything down. So that's, you know, that's kind of what I've been working towards with this whole thing, is that like, I'm a guinea pig, right? I ran out there and I got in all kinds of court cases. I probably discharged 15 traffic tickets. I used to drive through states and they'd try and pull me over and I would just keep driving. Most of the states just stop following you after about 10 miles. Kansas didn't. They pulled me over, tax stripped my tires, rammed my vehicle, arrested me and charged me with a bunch of felonies. You know, it's just all, and it's all a bunch of bullshit. But like, that's what I did, is to find out what stuff works and what doesn't. So when I'm bringing information to you guys, when I'm doing stuff for you, okay, I am doing it because I've experienced how things work. And I bring it to you and I tell you, this is what the truth is. This is how this works. And so that's kind of what that is. And so those two things that I just went through, you know, if you end up getting into a court case, then you come to us and we'll put you in the court group and you'll be able to talk with the other people going through court cases. And this is the kind of stuff that I do, is teach you to express the trust, you know, file paperwork on the record and so on. So, that's that. So.
I have a
Anyway,
question
guys,
about
go
a
ahead.
question about the stamp value. So when you have those stamps, is there a different meaning if it's a 1 cent stamp or 2 cent, 3 cent, anything
Yeah,
like
so you
that?
got to do $5 at the top. So
Okay.
the stamp at the top is what you're paying for your vessel to be put in the private, right? So if you don't put stamps on it, then it goes on the public record. But if you're trying to get a case dismissed and you're trying to get in front of a judge, you want to be dealt with privately. So you have to put the $5 stamp at the top. You have to put the 3 cent stamp at the bottom that cancels. So they can't put it in public. And then you have to turn the document over and put a 3 cent stamp at the bottom there. And you have to sign over the 3 cent stamp. And then every page has to be that. So that one there is 20 pages. So that's $165 in stamps.
Fine.
But that's what I had to do.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Well, another question on the name format. So if it's first name, comma, or last name, comma, first name, comma, a middle name versus first name dash middle colon last name, is there a difference if you use one format over another?
Yes. So the way that your name is written, when it's written in all caps, what you're saying is that you are the corporation known as XYZ. When it's hyphenated, you're saying, first of all, that you don't have 3 names, that you have 2, because when you hyphenate a name, it becomes 1 name. So my name hyphenated is Kent Nicholas. That's 1 name. And then the full colon represents of the family. So you can write your name out, Kent dash Nicholas of the family Stark, or you can write Kent dash Nicholas full colon Stark. That's the body. Okay. The name with the last name and then comma, the first and middle is saying family Stark, Kent Nicholas. So it's still the same meaning, but how the government writes it for the body is they do the last name and then the first name. So Stark.
Okay.
So depending on what
All
you're
right.
doing, you just try and follow the format.
Okay, I was just wondering why there was a difference. I figured there had to be some different meaning.
There is, and it's a dumb thing, but it's, you
So
know.
like Pat says, don't play the name game.
Yeah, and I don't do that. I sign everything in blue ink. I use red thumbprint, and I don't do that big color game. And I don't, like the name thing is that, when I'm talking about the corporation, it's all capital letters. And I don't do my middle name. I just put Kent Stark in all capital letters when it's the corporation. And it's always taxpayer, capital Kent Stark dash social security number with dashes. Right. But when I'm talking about the real body, it's Kent with the mixed capital and small letters, full colon, Stark. And
Okay.
that's how I sign it, Kent, full colon, Stark. And then I always qualify it, beneficiary or trustee or executor, depending on what I'm signing for.
If you're, is that how your name is on your SS4 that you submitted for those EINs? Is that how the executor or the trustee?
Yeah, it
Are
just
they all
depends what
different?
it is, right? The
But do you
estate
sign it the
is
way it is that
executor.
you got the SS4? However you got it that way?
Well, I qualify my signature. So however they want you to sign it, I didn't sign no SS4. I did them all online.
No, but when I said, let's say my trustee is my first last name versus another EIN is my first dash middle colon last,
Right.
do I have to sign it however that I put it in as the trustee?
Every time I sign, no matter what it is Kent, colon, Stark. And then I do comma, beneficiary or trustee or executor.
So you don't use your middle name?
I don't use my middle name. I do
Okay.
not use the all caps. When you do the all caps, you print it all out and it's the autograph. It must say autograph underneath of it because a dead person can't sign. So when you do that, it's always written out,
right,
capital letters.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And you do buy when you're doing for trustee and your executor?
I mean, sometimes it's on there. Like I don't really see that distinction as important. If it's on there, I use it. If it's not, I don't.
And do we, once we get through all of this, do we only have one transmitting utility, which would basically be our estate, or are there other transmitting utilities we would have?
No, your estate is dead. And what I do when you get into the mentor program is you learn how to move everything from the estate to the foreign grantor trust to a revocable trust.
Okay.
And so the revocable trust is your transmitting utility.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But we have a call you're in that. So we have a call tomorrow for that.
Yeah. I still need to get in that Telegram group. Because I don't know. I don't know what the name of it.
You weren't in there.
No, I'm not in. That's why I couldn't get on the meeting on Friday.
For clarification, you talked about the bond earlier. You made a distinction about the bond. You were not talking about the private registered bond. We're still sending that. You're talking about the other bonds you put in, right?
So the bond that comes with the SPC is your discharge bond, and it's the one that is included with your paperwork. So when you go,
right.
Yep. So that's the bond you put in. Any of the other bonds that you want to do, that's up to you. But that's not what I teach. I don't when you do the discharge bond, which is the one that's in my paperwork, that sets you up so that you can have the money available to discharge debt. When you start doing
Okay.
acquisitions and other stuff, then we do different bonds.
Yeah, okay, got it.
I use that
Got
bond.
the Telegram group.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got the Telegram group. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know you weren't in there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why I was getting so confused. I couldn't get on the meeting.
Anybody else have anything else?
This may be one of Pat's early discussions, but he was talking about using that letter of credit to claim that FDIC with all your banks. Is
Yeah,
that
that went
obsolete
away.
as well?
Anelia Sutton, Annie Sutton did that whole thing, and that's where I learned about it. I did the whole process, and they laughed me out of the bank. They changed the laws on all that, so it's not even.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Don't even sweat that.
All right.
Anything else?
I had a quick question.
Yep.
Is a revocable trust the estate living, or is the revocable trust something different?
Yeah, it's a living trust.
Okay.
It's a revocable. There's only two kinds of trust, revocable or irrevocable. Right? And it's expressed, but it's a statutory trust so that you can operate in commerce. Because you're not supposed to use the foreign trust to operate in commerce. You can't put treasury money in a foreign trust because that's money laundering.
Got it.
So, but you're in the mentor group now, so you're gonna learn all this.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. You guys got anything else? All right, well, thank you. You guys, thanks for coming and thanks for being here. I am glad that I can share this information with you guys. This one was recorded, so I will make it into a video and put it on the YouTube, and then I will share it with you all in here in the Telegram group so that everybody can check it out. And I thank you guys for participating in these weekly calls. And anything else that I can help you with, just let me know, okay?
Thank you, good night.
Thanks, Kent.
Yep. Good
Thanks,
night.
Kat.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.